Heather, I'm delighted to have you on the show today. Just for the guests, this is another inspiring interview on Leading Ladies TV, and I'm delighted to welcome Heather Bamforth to the show. I met Heather a little while ago, and she has really kind of touched me in terms of what she's achieving in her life. You're going to share with us some stories today about how you've had to manage with having the condition epilepsy and what the medication does to you, and the moment when you decided, I have to take control, I have to take 100% responsibility for what I want, and you decided what you want, you went for it, and you created a dream team, and have now gone on and even created a foundation for women in cycling, the charity Racing Chance, which is an amazing foundation which helps women get training and cycling opportunities. So yeah, you've got so much to share with us, Heather. Welcome to the show, and yeah, please do share your story with us.
Thank you. So I've had epilepsy pretty much since I was a baby. It wasn't diagnosed until I was about 7 or 8, and it wasn't until I was about 13 or 14 that I started taking medication. But the problem with epilepsy is obviously that most people associate the fact that you have seizures. And so for the medical staff that deal with you, it's actually, the seizures are actually, for anyone who's seen an epileptic seizure, they'll see how sort of terrifying it can be. So the amount of the actual injuries that you can sustain from having a seizure, it's for the medical staff that help you manage your condition. It's more for them. It's always about making sure that you minimise the number of times that you may have a seizure. I am very lucky in that whenever I used to have a seizure, it wasn't. I know there are some people who can have multiple seizures a day. For me, it was only ever once every sort of 9 months or so. So I do appreciate that my epilepsy isn't as bad as everybody else, but notwithstanding that fact, it's something that you have to live with on a daily basis because you don't know when you're going to have a fit. So I was put on medication when I was about 14 or 15, and at the time I was racing on a bike as a teenager, and I got into the national talent squad, and I had to have loads of you did loads of testing to see whether you were on the squad or not, whether you had the capabilities of performing at world level. And my coach at the time noticed that I couldn't get my heart rate over 180. Now, how heart rate works is that effectively, I think you take 230 and then deduct a number from it, like your age is from. That's what your maximum heart rate is supposed to be. So at the age of 18, my maximum heart rate should have been around about 210. I could never get it over 180. So my coach suggested that I spoke to my consultant about whether it was the drugs that were having an effect on my heart. So went to see the consultant, and he swapped me to an old drug called sodium valproate, which is known as Epilim. And I was put on that because they also said that it was the best. I was put on Epilim and another drug called lamotrigine, and that was supposedly at the time. So we're talking 1996 ish. That was supposed to be the best combination for women of childbearing age who have epilepsy. And we sort of went with that medication for a bit. I had some fits, but eventually by, I think, 2000 I had my last major seizure. And then I didn't have any after that, pretty much. So the drugs were working, which was great. But as I started my last fit was when I was proper seizure was when I was a student. So then when I started working full time, that was fine. But then I eventually started my career in insolvency, and it was great to start off with. But then I just kept getting tired and more tired and more tired, and I couldn't work out what it was. And I'd always been quite active. I was still riding my bike. But by 2009, it got to the point where I couldn't get out of bed. It was so hard to go to work. And I was just like, is this all my life is going to be? It was, and at that point I was 32 probably, and so it was all a bit of a catalyst, because basically what happens when you have to go with epilepsy, you have to have a yearly checkup with the hospital, with your consultant. And the hospital kept changing my appointment, so in the end I totally forgot what day it was, and I was discharged. So I had to go back to my GP, and they then had to enrol me again with, but I've only got a different consultant, and he effectively changed my life. I won't, I can't thank him enough for what he did. I went to see him, and I just sort of explained to him that I was so tired all the time. It was just like, I had no energy. I'd get home from work and I'd just sit on have my tea, and I'd sit on the settee and watch Emmerdale, Coronation Street, Emmerdale, Coronation Street, EastEnders. And then I go to bed, and I was like, oh my God, this is awful.
Not discrediting those wonderful programmes.
But I've always been a really active person, so for me it was. And I told the consultant this, and he said, well, it may be that we need to put you in touch with rheumatology, because we have a specialist who deals with chronic fatigue. So before I did that, I was on with private healthcare at the time. So I went to see a consultant, and he just went, "Oh, you're just not sleeping properly. Have some Prozac." And I was like, don't think another drug's really what I want. So, and I looked at it, and actually, it would have reacted with my medication. So I was like, no, sorry, my driving license is too important. So I gave up on him. He just didn't get it. And I went back to see my consultant at Salford Royal, and he put me in contact with the rheumatology clinic and the chronic fatigue specialist. And December 2010, I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue. And that was a week before I was going on skiing holiday. And I told the consultant that we were going skiing, and she was like, "I don't think that's really a good idea." It's like, oh, okay. So they sort of suggest reading for you about it. So I got the books, and it basically said that don't sleep during the day. So I didn't have a habit of sleeping during the day, but I just sort of like closed my eyes for a bit. I was used to that. And then it's basically said that you had to go from, you had to sort of decide that you're going to have 8 hours sleep, for example, and that was it. You're not allowed to read in bed, you're not allowed to go on the computer in bed, you're not allowed to watch TV in bed. It's all about clean lines between relaxing and letting your brain think. So that was really hard, and it was really, 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 really hard, because I was so tired. We went away for Christmas, and then we went away for New Year, and I was like, by the time it got to say the 2nd of January, I was just like, and motored on. And then I went to see a psychologist, because they now treat chronic fatigue with cognitive behaviour therapy. And at the time I was changing my medication, because my consultant has suggested that there was a newer drug which might be more suitable for me. So I was supposed to have 6 hourly sessions of CBT for once an hour once a fortnight, an hour every fortnight, and I ended up going for 12 months. And she basically held my hand, figuratively, whilst I changed drugs, and from that I was then able to sort of deal with stuff a lot better. With epilepsy, it tends to be triggers that cause seizure. So it's about being able to identify what those triggers are and managing your lifestyle so that you don't have those triggers, or you can at least reduce the times that you might, things that might happen at that point. So I had the CBT, I swapped drugs, and within 3 months of coming off the old drug and going on to the new drug, I'd lost over 2 stone. And the amount of energy that I wasn't big beforehand, but effectively I lost over 25% of my body weight in 2 months as a result of changing drugs. But the major part was that I felt like I could think properly, I could think clearly. Because how anti-epileptic drugs work, they slow your brain down, because obviously epilepsy is caused by your brain the electrics in your brain not quite working. So they sort of slow your brain down so it's a bit more stable. But like my old drug was obviously slowing it down too much. So this drug is a relatively new drug. I think it came to the market in 2007. So I don't know what the long-term side effects are of it. So for me, it was really important that because no one knows what's going to happen around the corner. So I decided at that point that I needed to make some changes. I was made redundant from my job that I'd been there, where I've been like for about 4 years. I was going to take a complete break from what I was good at, and then I thought, well, hang on a minute, I've been doing this for over 10 years. Just to chuck all of my experience away for no reason is totally stupid. So I went for another job and got it. But then now that I've got this different outlook on life, I felt if something doesn't work for me, I do something to change it. So I was there, I swapped jobs, went to this new place, I was there for 3 months, it just wasn't working for me. I was like, I've got to get out of this. I couldn't picture myself at the Christmas party, so I figured that wasn't particularly, didn't look like it was going to be a good thing for me, so I changed jobs, went somewhere else for another year. Again, I didn't feel like it was going in the right direction, so I changed jobs again, and 2 years later I'm in the same place. So I'm at the same, as in I haven't changed jobs since. So I'm quite happy. I'm really happy where I am now. But I think what I've learned through this period is that if you're not happy somewhere, you don't accept that that's how it has to be. It's only you can change the direction of your life. But if you're not happy, then don't believe that someone says to you that, oh well, it's going to look rubbish on your CV. Well, I would actually say the opposite, which is, well, at least I'm taking control and doing something that I want to do, rather than just being miserable for another 2 years, 18 months, just because someone says, oh, it doesn't look very good on your CV. So that's how I would look at it. But since that, obviously, I've got involved more with cycling, and I found that when I was a child, my parents always told me that I had to be involved in extracurricular activities, and I never quite understood why. They always just said, make sure you're involved with them. Like, so at university, I was a student rep, and I was in the choir, I was on the bike team, and I was like, right, yeah, whatever. But then as I've got older, the skills that you gain from dealing with stuff outside of work actually help in your day-to-day life, and it actually makes you can enjoy your job much better, because you've got something else to rely on. So if you have a really bad day at work, but you've got something going on outside of work, then you can focus on that and just get over the fact that, yeah, okay, it's work, it's called work, that's why you don't necessarily have to like it all the time. But your hobby is something you can do, and that gives you the confidence. And actually taking control. I never, if someone said this to me when I was 18, I would have been like, yeah, right. But actually taking control and deciding what you want to do in life is so empowering that it gives you the confidence to go on and then talk to people about, actually, yeah, do you know what? I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll do the other. And at the end of the day, life is all about doing things, and people respect you more if you're a doer, because you're willing to put yourself out there and do something. And okay, you might not make a few friends because they're like, whoa, hang on a minute, what's this all about? But at the end of the day, you have to put yourself first, and if you need the skills, if you need skills that will help you develop as a person generally, which will then help you in your career, then why not go and do something that you actually enjoy and you're passionate about? Isn't that part of the lipstick principles?
Yeah, it's definitely part of the lipstick principles. So I absolutely love your message.
That to me, don't be afraid to look outside of your day job to obtain skills that you're going to need later on. It may be that you're just on an office job at the moment, but you want to manage people. Well, if you don't have the opportunity to manage people in your day job, then go out and look where you can get involved. Even if you've got kids, you can get involved in a PTA or scout group, or it doesn't have to be sports per se. There's loads of things, but if you find something that floats your boat, get involved, because what's the worst that can happen? You might enjoy it. That's my message.
Oh, Heather, that was just absolutely fantastic. I love it. It's been a real journey for you. I can see that, and how much you've grown with every step.
Yes.
I think there's no doubt that your outlook now is just go for it. You just said, what's the worst thing that can happen? You might actually enjoy it. So I love that. Just we've just got a couple of minutes left, so just tell me a little bit about your foundation.
So as I said, I used to race a bike when I was sort of like a teenager, and then I sort of stepped away from it because I came really frustrated with the fact that I was effectively racing against the national squad, who were full-time riders, whilst I was working full-time. So funnily enough, I couldn't keep up, and it just really irritated me. So I gave up. But then I came back to it in 2011, and whilst the position was a lot better than it was when I was a teenager, there was still a big gap between being a beginner, being at a national level. So for the men, there's something that exists in the middle. So I said to the governing body, why isn't there something for women in the middle? And they're like, because there isn't. And I'm like, well, that's not good enough. What are you going to do about it? And they went, well, we haven't got anyone to organise anything. So I'll organise it. I don't care. Because for me, it's about anyone who gets involved in competition should be doing it because they want to make it. It's a lifestyle choice, because if you're involved in competition, you want to beat people. So that means you have to be fit, you have to eat the right stuff. It stops you drinking too much alcohol, taking too many drugs. And when you get involved in sport, you end up with no money, because all the money goes on buying bikes or whatever you do as a sport. And but for me, I've ended up somehow being I'm in the top 100 of most influential women in the bike industry in the UK, but I don't work in cycling. So that's sort of it's a bit strange, really. But we set up the foundation because there doesn't seem to be any information available for women. There's no support networks. You go to a club, it's just full of men who don't understand how women race. It can be quite... I'm used to riding with men because I've done it since I was 13, 14, but for someone who's not as confident as me and wants to go out on a bike ride, they don't want to turn up and suffer with a load of guys and then end up in the middle of nowhere on their own, and they've got to find their way back when they have no idea where they are. Yeah. So for me, it was important to build a support network so that you can build your confidence and just empower people to do whatever they want. That's what it's about at the end of the day, I suppose. Because then if they can achieve something on a bike, that will give them the confidence to go and achieve something in their day-to-day life. That's how I see it.
Your passion absolutely shines through, Heather. Thanks so much for sharing your message with us today. And it's the Racing Chance Foundation, isn't it? And I know you're very passionate about helping women in cycling. So if there is anybody out there who would like to get involved and doesn't know how, then visit your website, because it's phenomenal. And we've had many conversations about what you do to help women. So you're doing great work, Heather. And thank you so much for being on the show today. Oh, thank you. All right, well, there we go. Another inspiring interview on Leading Ladies TV. My thanks go to you, Heather Bamforth.